At a time of year where we can reflect on and remember the GOP's blatant betrayal of Trump 2 years ago, I really have to ask, why in the world is Trump supporting Kevin McCarthy for Speaker? I hate to say it, because I love the guy, but he's going about this process all wrong, and it really worries me. Stay tuned. What's up, guys? VinceDao here. Be sure to like and subscribe. We are finally back in Florida, as you can tell, and a little surprise, we now have 2 cameras. Check it out. We're getting fancy and professional here, aren't we, folks? But anyways, it is time to address the elephant in the room. You knew it was coming. People were like, why aren't you talking about Trump? I was always going to, why don't you be patient? So, as I'm sure you know by now, after long negotiations, it is official. Sadly, Kevin McCarthy is the Speaker of the House. It is what it is. You know where I stand. You know I have been vehemently anti-McCarthy. And judging by your reactions, it seems that the overwhelming majority of the base is too, which is interesting. Because when it came to Trump versus DeSantis and a lot of social issues, there is divide, there is dissent. But there seems to be almost no dissent from the ordinary conservatives on this topic of Kevin McCarthy being an absolute rhino, which is why it's so baffling that 2024 presidential candidate Donald Trump chose to side against the rebels, against the base, in favor of Kevin McCarthy. As I'm sure you saw earlier this week, Trump always came out in favor of McCarthy, saying some really good conversations took place, blah, blah, blah. It's time to get in line and vote for McCarthy, send Pelosi home, etc. And for the record, he said that at like the beginning of the week. So this is before the 14 or so Republicans renegotiated more and then flipped on Thursday and Friday. Because that matters. Listen, I'm anti-McCarthy no matter what. Let me make that clear. I don't trust him no matter what. I barely trust him now. But I could understand Trump initially coming out in support of the anti-McCarthy people from the start, doing some negotiating, and then saying, okay, now I'll get behind the inevitable, like those 21 Republicans did. But that's not what happened. Trump has basically been behind McCarthy this whole time. And I hate to say it, because I love Donald Trump, I support Donald Trump, but that was deeply concerning. I gotta be honest, I can't lie to you. And to me, that was far more concerning than any of the recent blunders, quote unquote, that he's had. Because to me, here's the utility of Donald Trump in 2024. It's not the fact that he's a perfect political operator. He's not a career politician, nor is it the fact that he's totally based and red-pilled and gets it on every single issue. And that's why when I look at stuff like speaking for the log cabin Republicans or a somewhat poorly worded abortion comment, I kind of roll my eyes. But I'm also like, that's Trump. That's always been Trump. I never expected him to be the perfect conservative on every issue. But what I do want from Trump is that draining of the swamp. And what I was most excited for in 2024 was the idea that after all that has happened to him, after all the betrayal, he would basically seek revenge on the American political system, that he would be a battering ram to the establishments of both parties, that he would remember all of the people who wronged him and betrayed him. And that's why supporting Kevin McCarthy so deeply concerns me, because that showed that either he wasn't serious about that or he still doesn't fully get it at this point. And that's very frustrating because, look, I get why Trump was helping McCarthy before the midterms. You know, unite the party, get people elected. Let's not divide the party when we're trying to win the election. But we had a disappointing performance. And on top of that, there were already Republicans dissenting from McCarthy. Okay, it's not like Trump had to go out there and astroturf some anti-McCarthy movement that didn't already exist, okay? They started it for him. Trump's base on top of that, is overwhelmingly against McCarthy, as we all know. So I saw that as the perfect moment for Trump to turn, and he didn't do it. Why? I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know. If it's because Trump perceives McCarthy as loyal, then that's a severe mistake. That's a serious lapse in judgment. And he shouldn't still be having those after being in politics for 8 years now. And we don't have time for him to relearn those lessons if he becomes president again. Okay? That's just the truth. And if it's not that, then it would be the argument that he's trying to run a more moderate, polished, quote-unquote, campaign. And I'm sure you've heard that argument, right? Trump's not trying to piss off as many people this time around. But here's the thing. Yes, attacking DeSantis divides Trump's base. Making some squishy comments on abortion or LGBT divides Trump's base. But being anti-Kevin McCarthy is one thing that the Trump base overwhelmingly agrees on. In fact, judging by what a lot of you are saying, it seems that Trump's effort to be that moderate and to be a people pleaser has turned a lot of his own base against him. None of us like Kevin McCarthy. And by the way, McCarthy doesn't like you either, Donald. So what are we doing here? Again, if the function of Trump 2024 is not justice against the system, if it's not draining the swamp for real this time, then what really is it? Because that's been my concern about Ron DeSantis. I don't question Ron as a governor or an effective politician or legislator. What I do question is his ability to get in D.C. and truly take on the establishment in the way that we need as a country. And for the record, I still have those concerns about him as a candidate. But if Trump's not going to do that either, then what are we really doing? I don't know. You tell me. What I will say is this, and this is blunt, but this is very honest. I genuinely believe that continuing on this current trajectory without any changes, which there's still over a year to make them, but at this rate, Trump is not going to win the primary. Because firstly, a lot of voters just keep getting mad at him for all these different reasons. And secondly, I think there's a lot of people who are going to look at stuff like this and say, well, if he's not going to drain the swamp either, then why not pick the guy who's younger, more electable, quote unquote, more polished, etc. I'm not saying that, but there's a lot of Republican voters who are thinking this. That's something to consider. And if you ask me, that's something that we need to start using to our advantage. What I mean by that is that we as a base need to start voicing these frustrations. I really just don't see another way out of this. We need to put our foot down and say, Trump, if you keep this up, our people and our base are not going to vote for you. And if you want to win in 2024, it's not going to matter how much you butter up McCarthy, even though he's probably working against you anyway. It doesn't matter if the voters don't vote for you. And I hate to talk like that about someone who I do love and admire, but that's the truth. That's the way it is. If we want the best Trump or whoever the nominee is, we need to show them that our vote is not something to be taken for granted. We have wishes, we have expectations, we have demands, and we need to put the pressure on. That's what I think. But what do you think about Trump endorsing McCarthy basically from the start, about the 2024 GOP field? Let me know in the comments below. And until next time, be sure to like and subscribe if you are new. And I'll see y'all soon. Until next time, Alpha Moves Only. God bless and peace.